Hello, everyone. I'm Monica Manchanda. I am the co-founder and chief culinary officer at Livault Life. I hope you're having a good Saturday afternoon, evening rather. And today we are here to talk about nutrition in the times of COVID. This is something that has, in some ways, hit all of us, either personally or people we know, or we are getting ready for uh, preparing our body for COVID and preparing ourselves essentially. Nutrition and COVID is a topic that we can't ignore in the times we live in. And this is a topic of discussion today. Over the next 1 hour, but before I go in, as and when you have questions, there is a Q&A button there. You can add in the questions there. And at the end of the PPT, I'll go through all the questions that you guys have had in and take them one by one. There's also a chat box if you want to use to comment, question, chat about it, and I'll probably have a look at it couple of times in between the workshop, in the webinar, and towards the end again. We also have a small feedback form that would be request you to fill at the end of the webinar, but I'll remind you at then when we come there. In the next 1 hour, these are the topics that we'll broadly cover. COVID-19 and how has it become the black swan of the century? What have its impacts been like in general? Social impacts, lifestyle impacts, etc. Then we'll come on to a little specific to the topic that we are covering today, which is the COVID-19 impact on eating patterns. How has it affected the way we eat, the way we look at food? And as we explore, I will take you through how largely our relationship with food has changed because of COVID. And nutrition is probably just one part of it, and there is more. Then we will go on to the role of nutrition in the whole journey. How can you heal better if you have been unfortunate to get the disease, or how can you be ready if you haven't? Because the way it is going, a large population has got it, and the third wave is just from the corner, and we need ourselves to be ready before it hits us. One of the most debatable topics when it comes to COVID and food has been supplements. Are they really effective? Do we really need them? And we will touch upon it today. I'll also take you through a quick home quarantine meal plan that can help you heal better, recover better. A couple of immunity boosting recipes that I will quickly take you guys through. And we'll spend the last 5 minutes maybe talking about what Livault Life does, what are the offerings we have, and a list of upcoming webinars so that you guys can continue engaging with us. We would love to have you in as many webinars as we can. So let's talk about how has COVID-19 kind of affected us and become the black swan of the century. It is just changed the way we live in many ways. It has affected people of all age, class, societies. There's been no boundaries left. It started with people who were traveling, but it is just about everywhere now. If you look at the graph, you'll see how the numbers look like. 175 million people across globally have been affected by COVID-19, and this is by no feat a small number. It's a massive, massive number to ignore. And one of the very interesting or unfortunate things here is that while the global numbers have definitely grown, the India numbers have grown. The global numbers have grown 17-fold in the past 1.5 years, but the India number have surprisingly grown 50-fold, which is a huge difference, which is a massive difference. And one of the reasons that researchers believe, doctors believe this could be because people with lifestyle diseases like diabetes, heart diseases are having the worst prognosis when it's come to COVID. They have worst affected with it. And India, unfortunately, is one of the places with the highest diabetic population in the world. So it is something that we Indians just cannot ignore anymore. It has almost impacted every sector of our society. And I don't need to tell you that. We all are kind of aware of how deeply this has impacted us from a day-to-day basis. Our lives have completely changed. So this is, if you look at it broadly, this is what COVID-19 impact has probably been on us, from lifestyle impact, where we are now living our lives based on a set of COVID-19 guidelines that keep coming from organizations, from government. We all keep checking on what is the latest rules that we have to follow, and what are the guidelines, what are the SOPs that are coming in. Hand washing has become a part of our life like it was never before. We always wanted to, had to wash hands, but now we are all washing hands 15, 20, 30 times a day. Masks have become a norm to an extent that you really can't step out of your house and you feel almost the naked feeling if you step out of the house without mask. It's just become a part of you. We moved from single masking to double masking. Social distancing has come into place, and it's just changed the way we live. There has been a huge social impact. Uh, uh, People in Bangalore and everywhere in India, one of our major, we are humans, we are social animals. We used to love meeting people. And that has taken a complete toll. Travel is totally restricted. And both these together, and in fact, to some extent, the rest of them have taken a huge mental impact on us. Uh, Work from home has disturbed harmony in many, many ways, not just that your boundaries between a home and office have vanished. Living rooms have changed into work places. There are multiple people taking con calls through the day. A child is attending a home school. We are all scrambling to find quiet places in the house so that our colleagues don't hear the other person talking on call. The stress has increased. We don't have helps at home. So it is all resulted in a huge mental toll. And strangely, even the work hours have kind of eaten into our time life. There is no distinct cutoff between work and home because it just carries on uh, continuously through the day before you realize it's night and you need to sleep. So it has taken a huge mental stress on all of us. Needless to say, it has a huge health impact. It has affected immunity of everybody almost. Millions have succumbed to COVID. Even more are battling post-COVID complications, even if they have been declared COVID-free and came home, but they're still struggling with breathing issues, heart problems, low immunity, fatigue, and other stuff. The economical impact, the business impact has also been massive. The financial impact has been massive here. Businesses have shut or are doing not greatly doing well. People have lost jobs. And when I say people have lost jobs, it is across strata, lowering, while migrants and daily wage workers have been badly hit. Even people with the higher social economical strata have struggled. A lot of us have lost jobs there. Education, if you have a child, you'll know, and I don't need to tell you this, how much education has been impacted to an extent that every person I speak to believes that this year should be written off. And I don't think kids have had a great learning. It's hard for them to focus, sit on the laptop for 4 hours or 5, 6 hours a day and try to focus in classes. I mean, how do you learn subjects like science, chemistry, physics, where you are supposed to learn via experiments? Besides, what is the impact it has taken on the mental health of our kids? And really, none of us can say that now, only time will tell us. And I think last but not the least, and the topic of today's next hour or so is primarily the nutritional impact, the food choices that have changed, the impact it has had on the way we eat, the way we look at food, the way we analyze food in the past 1.5 years or so. So if I move on to the next slide, let's talk about how it has impacted our eating pattern over the past 16, 18 months that COVID has hit us in many, many ways. And we can say that there's a silver lining to the cloud that has come in. pandemic has been an eye opener to highlight the importance of nutrition. We are all, I mean, majority of us are now looking at food and realizing that we must pay attention to what we are eating and how we are eating this. Um, we are opening our minds to organic food. We are connecting to our farmers directly. Most communities have a network of farmers which are supplying that, and we are looking at every vegetable, every food in a way that we hadn't looked before. And the reason could be probably another session we can talk about, where we actually say that what has brought about this change. This change has been brought about by multiple reasons. One, that we are all scared for our health, and I think the other major reason is that we are cooking far more than we were cooking before. Majority of us had maids and cooks and helps coming in to prepare our food, and which is now our responsibility. So we are aware of what we are eating. We are aware of what is going into our food, and not just what we are eating. And that has made us think, again, probably a silver lining to the whole thing. And we must hold on to silver linings these days. Uh, a very interesting thing which has happened in the past 1.5 years is that sales of and purchase of multivitamins globally has boosted. In fact, I was reading a report which says that multivitamin sale in US has gone up 22 times. And that is by no mean feat a small number, which just means that we are so worried about our own immunity. We are so worried about, are we fit enough to tackle COVID once we get it? Are we healthy enough to deal with it? Uh, Another interesting thing that has happened, I mean, so like many things pandemic, our responses to the disease, to the way we react to it, has been two extremes. Um, some people, and specifically to food, some people have become so conscious of how they eat. They have immersed themselves in healthy eating and fitness habits. On the other hand, there have been people who have struggled with eating disorders, because when you're at home, you have mental stress. Binge eating, snacking is the easiest thing to reach out to for comfort. It is something we must all watch out for. It is something we must be all must be aware of and try to not do as much as can. Another interesting thing that happened, at least especially towards the starting of the pandemic, and is um, still kind of catching up in various parts of the world, is the plant-based diet. So it started, I think, as a fear that the contamination in animals might be very high, that the whole bat and the infection thing that's coming from bat and it might move on to other animals was something that got deeply embedded in us at the start of the pandemic. And we feared contamination greatly. And a lot of people started moving towards plant-based diets. And we all know that's not true. If a plant-based diet is something that you want to explore, you must. It is great for the environment, etc. But if you are thinking of it from the perspective of just COVID, it is probably has no effect on it. But it did pick up a lot as a trend in the past 1.5 years. So if you look at the role of nutrition largely when it comes to COVID, we have three sections of people largely. I mean, and it's so funny that we kind of divide people now depending on which stage of COVID they are at which stage of COVID they are dealing with. There are people who are currently battling with the disease, who are in isolation, and there are people who are recovering from disease, have got COVID in the recent part and are recovering from disease, and there are people who have never had COVID. And all three set of people have slightly different nutritional needs and have to take care of their nutrition, but in a slightly different way. So if you look at people who are currently in isolation, the virus is still active in them, and the body is weak and the immunity is all-time low. So what they need to do is fight the weakness, improve their immunity, and help the medications that they're taking work better. And that is a primary objective towards focusing on nutrition. The people who are recovering from COVID, the virus in their body is gone, but they're still left very weak. The immunity has been severely compromised, and they're dealing with loss of muscle mass, severe fatigue. And so the majority of the things that they need to focus is to restore the immunity that they've lost, build the muscle mass back, and we will go on to all of these topics one by one, and fight fatigue. Fatigue is one of the most common uh, effects of COVID, post-COVID recovery, and people have been said to deal with this for anywhere between 2 months, 2 weeks to 2 months. I have spoken to people who said that it's been 5 months I have recovered from COVID, but I still feel a crazy amount of fatigue at the end of the day or through the day. I need to take naps to be able to recover. And this is something we will cover through the rest of the workshop webinar. We will talk about how to fasten that recovery process. Sorry. And then there are people who have never had COVID. And if you have been lucky, I sincerely pray that you remain lucky, but we must all do everything we can to prepare ourselves to fight with the disease if and when it gets it. Because I read a recent report by WHO which says that it's the way it is going, by the end of the year, either all of us would have had it mostly. I mean, at least 70% of the world population would have had it in some ways or the other, whether we are asymptomatic or we have mild symptoms or we get serious. But our purpose for the next few months should be to work on our nutrition in a way that if we get it and symptoms remain low and we are able to deal with it without any serious issues. And when we do this, the main three things to keep in mind is build your immunity, keep your gut healthy, and we will talk about it a little bit probably here before I move on to the next thing. Slide. Gut is said to be the second brain of our body, and a lot of our problems can get solved if we have a healthy gut. And it's extremely important to take care of your gut. So that is something we need to really focus on. And as we go along in the slides, I think we have a small section on it, and a general wellness. And if you do the top 4 things, your health, keep fit, eat healthy, you'll be kind of okay if you take care of your immunity and gut health. So let's start with the first part. How can nutrition help you heal with COVID symptoms? And this is probably a combination of both the facts that if you have COVID and if you are recovering from COVID, both these are somewhat covered under this session, under this section. And let's see what we have here. So when a healthy diet is your weapon anytime, and especially with COVID. And a couple of things to keep in mind, a couple of sections that we break this down into when we talk about healing from COVID is enhanced immunity. And we have spoken about immunity enough, and there have been, I think the past 18 months, we have seen immunity come in focus like it was never before, right from turmeric to ginger to garlic and to vitamin C. Everything else has been a focus of discussions, and immunity has never taken a center stage like this ever before. And in some ways, I'm glad. Immunity is something that we all need to build in our bodies, whether it is for COVID or otherwise. It even will prevent us from many other diseases as we go along. Overcome lethargy. And lethargy is a combination of multiple things when it comes to COVID. It is, of course, the whole body reacting with fatigue and tiredness, but it's also the fact that one of the days we heal, or one of the treatments for COVID, is quarantining and isolating yourself for 2 weeks. And 14 days living in one single room is no mean feat. And your body adapts to being not able to work so much, being lethargic. So, and your muscle mass reduces. So we will focus a little bit on that. Another one of the major symptoms of COVID, which can be very unnerving for some people, is the loss of sense and smell and taste. And we will probably spend some time today to understand how can you bring it back a little faster, and how can you work on getting it back faster. Muscle mass, loss of muscle is a major symptom for any flu for that matter, and in specifically for COVID. And all of this to put together will restore a general wellness in you, and you'll be ready to take on life a little more better. So, okay, let's go to it one by one. Let's talk about immunity. Uh, when your body is fighting with a flu or a disease, your body has an immune system response. You develop antibodies, and 80% of the people have a normal immune response. The virus kicks in, your antibodies are formed, they fight, and then the whole virus dies. But in a small percentage of people, are actually not call it small, considering we are talking about 15%, 15 to 20% of people out of 175 million number worldwide. So it's no more a small section as we would like to think. It also leads to something called cytokine storm. So cytokines are produced in your body as a normal response to immunity. These are produced to fight back the virus. But if your body sometimes produces too much of them, and it is almost like your body is fighting with your own body, and that anti-inflammatory proteins are produced at a much higher rate, which can actually harm you more than the virus sometimes. And this happens, and this is extremely, this leaves your body extremely fragile and extremely, extremely fragile, and you have to deal with it. Otherwise, your immunity keeps going down further and further. So the essential nutrients to deal with immunity are vitamins A, B, C, D, folates, E, and K, and minerals like iron, zinc, and selenium. And in this, I know zinc has been the hot topic of discussion through and through. Vitamin D has been a hot topic of discussion through and through the last 18 months. But we tend to ignore the rest of the vitamins, which are also extremely critical and are required to help us build our immunity back in faster. So let me just quickly take you through most of the stuff, the typical four sources. All of these are commonly found at our sour fruits. When I say sour fruits, is all typically our citrus fruits. They are extremely good in vitamin C as well as iron sometimes. Dark leafy vegetables are great in folates and in vitamin C and in zinc to an extent. Then bright red vegetables and orange color vegetables are great in iron and folates, and to a certain extent selenium. And we need to include them in thing. Lean meats, fish, lean meats like chicken, fish have great amount of selenium and zinc. Nuts and seeds, and nuts and seeds are those wonder things which have a little bit of everything in some way. They're great in zinc, good, they have decent. Pumpkin seeds especially have great amount of zinc in them. They have good fatty acids. They are great in, they have some amount of protein. And broccoli. These are some of the typical food sources that will take care of your vitamin A, B, C, D, iron, zinc, and selenium. Specifically, when it comes to zinc, even your legumes like rajma, chola, and lobia, which is a black-eyed pea, has great amount of zinc in it. And a regular consumption of these can help us, even eggs for that matter. These are some of the things you must include to enhance your immunity beyond the vitamin C and the turmeric that we are talking about. Turmeric is great for your immunity. Garlic is great for your immunity. But unless you pump up your vitamin C, A, B, and zinc eating, only turmeric and is not going to help you. And some of these are also linked to each other in the sense that your vitamin C, your iron will get absorbed only if your vitamin C is enough. So it is not always a matter of eating this alone. It is always a matter of eating each other in combination. So the absorption of everything is enough in your body. Let's talk about lethargy. And lethargy comes from multiple things. It comes from COVID fatigue, of course, and COVID fatigue is slightly different than a normal flu fatigue, because as we all know, COVID really, one of the symptoms of COVID is that your oxygen levels drop. And when your oxygen levels drops, the blood circulation in your body is in the low, and your muscles and everyone else, muscles and your rest of the body of organs don't get enough blood oxygen. And that is what brings in fatigue at that bad level. Secondly, the body is engaging to fight the virus in a really um, harsh, I mean, really hard. What it does it to fight the virus, it slow down the function of the rest of the organs to a bare minimum, but it can put all its energy into fighting the virus. And when that happens, it takes a while for it to come back. It needs the right nutrition, right rest for it to come back to a normal level. And about 95% of people who get COVID and are affected by symptoms have complained of severe fatigue. So it is by no means a small number. It is by no means something that we can ignore. It also continues to remain with us after the infection is gone. And some of the essential nutrients that we must take to get over it is proteins. And I can't really stress how much proteins is important in COVID recovery in many ways. It helps us get our lethargy. And in the next slide, when we talk about muscle mass, I mean, we all know that muscle needs protein. And so when we are talking about COVID recovery, we must never ignore the role of protein in the whole process. And protein can be vegetarian and non-vegetarian. We can, when it comes to veg protein, we can talk about sprouted beans, cottage, all kind of cheese, paneer, curds, to a certain tofu. Tofu is great if you can have it. It is completely plant-based protein, and the absorption of protein from tofu is really high. In non-veg, vegetarian proteins, fish is a great protein. Lean meats like chicken are great. The other two minerals that we often forget is the potassium and magnesium. Potassium and magnesium greatly help us, because one of the things that also happens when our body is fighting a flu and COVID is the drainage of salt from your body, and the salts go low. And potassium, and when I mean salt, I don't mean our table salt, I mean the salts in the blood. And potassium and magnesium are needed to bring them back to the normal level. Omega-3 fatty acids are extremely important and good for your health to bring back the lethargy. They are found in some of the nuts and seeds. If you're talking about the vegetarian sources, especially walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and melon seeds. When it comes, if you eat fish, no better source of omega-3 fatty acids than fatty fishes like salmon. Even our local fishes like rohu and seer and all of the brilliant amount of omega-3 fatty acids. There is also an enzyme called coenzyme Q10, which helps your body extremely well in fighting fatigue. This enzyme is specifically found in vegetarian fruits of spinach and broccoli. And if you are recovering from COVID, I highly recommend to have one serving of either spinach or broccoli every day in your meal for the next 2 to 3 weeks after you have recovered from COVID. And I'm talking of probably a personal experience. I did battle COVID 5 to 6 weeks ago. And it is, I know it gets boring to eat the same vegetable, but it is extremely healthy. Coenzyme Q10 is not found in many ingredients, but it is it helps lethargy greatly. And it is found in fish again. So if you can include some form of fish in your food about 3 to 4 times a week, and broccoli and spinach, at least one of them on an everyday basis, your recovery could be much faster. There are some more sources on the food things. We have already spoken about almost all of them. Then another thing that I think which all people who have struggled with COVID and we have suffered with COVID deal with is that loss of smell and taste. And as funny it sounds, like a very small symptom or something that we should make peace with, which should not bother our lives greatly, it is actually very, very unnerving for many people, especially if you like food, or if you, because sense of smell and taste is so tightly attached that even if you lose smell and you still have some amount of taste, you will not be able to taste the food 100%. But beyond food, uh, we don't realize how much we interact with our environment on base of smells. I mean, it is just inherent in us, the sense of smell. We live our lives based on cues that our nose gives us. And unless you've really experienced it, I mean, before I personally got COVID, I used to think, "ठीक है, हो जाएगा." Loss of sense of smell is not a big deal, but it's almost like an emptiness in your life when you can't smell anything. It is very, very unnerving, and I've known people who can get deeply affected by this. And though most people get it back in a span of 2 weeks to 3 weeks, actually 4 days to 3 weeks, some people have complained of loss of smell for up to 4 or 5 months. And so when we were researching how to put this together, we thought this is something that we must touch upon. And there are a few things you can do to regain your sense of smell and taste faster. And some of the things is mentioned here: crushed garlic. If you eat crushed garlic, if you take pepper with honey and water and drink it lukewarm on a daily basis, it really helps. It was a TIL moment for me, kind of a thing, when I figured that how closely our olfactor senses are attached to vitamin A. I mean, but they are very close to it. And one of the things that COVID probably does is depletes you of a lot of vitamin nutrients that our body, specifically of vitamin A, and vitamin A deficiency is closely tied to loss of sense of smell and taste. And probably this is also one of the reasons that people who are suffering from cancer and go to chemotherapy also have a loss of sense and taste to an extent, because even the chemo radiations deplete our vitamin A. So the supplements of vitamin A help. If you don't want to take supplements, vitamin A, foods rich in vitamin A are cheese, eggs, oily fish. They're all highly rich in vitamin A, and you can try to eat them on a regular basis. Especially oily fishes, especially like salmon, is great. Eggs are great. Another thing that helps get your sense of smell back faster is smell training. And smell training is it's actually I realize it's a very professional. This is a professional course on. When I was researching this, I realized it's a professional course on smell training, which is given for perfumers and perfume creators. And one of the things that they start doing before getting into a detailed course is um, train their noses to switch between smells. And that is something which helps while you're trying to regain your sense of smell and taste as well. Take some garlic, smell it, switch it to coffee, smell on oranges, take essential oils like rose, clove, lemon, uh, just smell them 2 to 3 times a day. And slowly, while your brain gets retuned to all of this and you start eating, getting more of vitamin A, your sense of smell will start coming back. To regain your sense of taste, like I said, sense of taste and sense of smells are very closely tied together. Sense of taste is actually 60% sense of smell. And if you can't smell, you won't be able to taste much of the food. So when your sense of smell starts coming, that the taste will automatically also start coming back. But to do this, eating certain herbs like ginger, mint, sharper taste like pickles and vinegars and olives. And when I mean pickle here, I actually mean fermented pickles like gherkins and stuff, and not really, or even pickled onions and pickled carrots. And I not mean our Indian achar. Any fresh herbs will help, whether it is mint or coriander, parsley, basil, oregano, ginger, onion. These are the things that will help you gain your sense of smell and taste. And most of this list that you see on the right hand side, I'm talking about it to eat raw. That is when their most pungent taste will actually come, and not really cooked, which is very dumb, toned down taste in some ways. Improve muscle mass, and we did speak about this till now. So what happens is that the lack of movement when you are resting for about 15 days leads to certain amount of muscle mass. The lack of proteins in your diet also probably will lead to certain amount of muscle mass, and it accelerates the muscle loss that is happening in your body. The muscles in the joints become stiffer, and it is extremely important to bring them back to the normal levels. Also, a point here, even if you are in quarantine, one of the things that is important is to move around the room, so that your muscles are not really completely dead. They are experiencing some motion, some movement and motion. And I know it can be severe. If you are at home, do that. If you can't, if you're in hospital, then there is no option. But we can bring them back by the right nutrition, by eating the right kind of food. And as we all know, for muscle rebuilding, the major part is protein. We have indeed already spoken about protein, but again, I'm re-emphasizing how important protein really is. And sometimes I see internet talk about protein and demonizing it in some ways, but the right amount of protein is extremely important for body's functioning. Yes, we should not eat too much protein, and it can affect our kidneys to a certain extent. But that too much protein should not become, the fear of too much protein should not lead to too less protein. And that is something we have to keep in mind, that a little amount of protein is extremely important for our body functioning. The other thing that are important for building our muscle mass is vitamin A, B12. And again, if you're a vegetarian, B12 can be a problem in general, not just in COVID. Do get yourself tested for vitamin B profile. And if you are low in vitamin B12, please take a supplement. Reach out to us if you want a recommendation. We're happy to recommend a plant-based B12 supplement, which works very, very well. Potassium and magnesium. And some of these are actually very calcium also to an extent. And typical food sources of this are again legumes, nuts and seeds, yellow and green vegetables, lean meat, poultry. And if you, it's almost funny if you look at all the slides that I have gone through till now, and at the end of a recommendation of typical food sources, there is so much of a common thread going around. Eggs, fish, colored vegetables, nuts and seeds. They are practically omnipresent in each slide. It just means that how nutritionally rich they are, and how on a regular basis, if we include this in our diets to a certain extent, we can take care of a lot of our nutritional needs. Restore general wellness, and this again is probably almost all people suffer from it, and it comes from less loss of oxygen in some ways. And I cannot stress enough, the key player to this is hydration. While you are in quarantine and while you are healing from it, please drink at a bare minimum 3 liters of water every day. And if you can go up to 4 to 5, it'll be extremely good for you. But at a bare minimum, 3 liters of water every day is extremely important. If you can't drink plain water, and if you struggle drinking plain water, just squeeze a lemon in it and throw in some black salt or Himalayan salt and keep sipping through it. Infuse your water with things like cucumber and mint and orange slices to give it flavor. But please drink enough water. And when I say in a minimum of 3 liters of water, it's also important to spread that 3 liters of water through the day. Because a lot of times I hear people saying, oh, I drink 2 liters of water in the morning, and that takes care of majority of my water need. And then I drink a bottle, the rest of 1 liter through the day. but your body needs hydration at a regular interval. Every 1 hour, drink a glass of water if you can. Put reminders. There are enough, as funny as it sounds, there are enough apps floating around that remind you us of drinking water every hour. Um, Smoothies are great. Clear soups are great. They also give you enough hydration, enough water intake, increase your water intake. Broths, and especially if you're a non-vegetarian, uh, bone broth is great. If you can drink bone broth, which is essentially slow cooked bones, whether they are chicken bones or they are mutton bones, slow cooked with water and some spices and herbs over a 2 to 3 hour period. Bones have something specific called collagen, which is not found in any other thing, and it gives you great energy, great immunity, and it is great for your muscle mass also in general. Some of the fruits that improve, the other thing which happens is required for your general wellness is improved blood circulation. And we discussed this before. Because of the lack of oxygen, because the oxygen goes down as a symptom of COVID, your blood circulation in your body gets affected. And some of the things to improve your blood circulation is pomegranate, onions, cinnamon, garlic, beets, turmeric, green leafy vegetables, citrus fruits, walnuts, tomatoes, and ginger. And I want to spend 2 minutes talking about turmeric probably because currently on the internet, we almost hear of turmeric as a magical cure to everything. But while I totally agree that turmeric is a great herb and a spice to have, and it has brilliant healing properties, and our ancestors knew this more than us. We have all grown up drinking haldi doodh when we were down. We have kind of taken when a little bit we had cold, cough, and we got injured, we would drink haldi doodh. But as it goes in our Indian cooking, we get enough turmeric. We use it enough in our food. Probably a haldi doodh now and then is a good practice, but we don't need to go all out and buy haldi breads and haldi everything. It is not required. The amount of turmeric we are having in our food on a regular basis and a small cup of haldi doodh in the night is probably going to take care of all the turmeric we need. So that was it from the perspective of healing and how can you help your body heal faster by nutrition from COVID. I'm going to quick spend, how are we doing on time? We have about 15 minutes. I'm going to quickly spend 10 more minutes on what does it take to take care of lifestyle, if you have lifestyle disease, and prepare yourself for COVID, because like we discussed before, the lifestyle diseases, people with lifestyle diseases have a worse prognosis, and we must take care of it. So if you look at the challenges that people with lifestyle diseases have, they have a high blood sugar, they have low immunity, they are prone to infections, their oxygen carrying hemoglobin effective, their insulin sensitivity is low. And that is primarily the reason the virus probably affects them more. And we'll quickly look at nutritional remedies for all of them. What we have already spoken about: immunity boosting foods, anti-inflammatory foods, the foods that include increased blood circulation is also something we have spoken about. And we will quickly look at the first and the last point here in further slides, which is our foods that can help you prepare for COVID. So if you very broadly look at, like to call it whip gear of healthy eating. And as I'm looking at the slide, I'm thinking maybe we should have made it in a whip gear color, but never mind. So very low carb, V for very low carb, E for intermediate proteins, B for binge and fats, G for good health. Your timing matters, optimize your water intake, and rethink fruits and vegetables. Quickly going to spend a minute on each of one of them. And probably if you guys want, we will do a session on specifically of nutrition and lifestyle diseases, and specifically on nutrition and diabetes. And we can cover this in detail there. One of the things which is very important to deal with lifestyle diseases is to cut down on your carbs. We need to bring our carb intake to about 10% or our total intake. It is important because insulin reacts to glucose, insulin reacts to carb, and insulin resist sensitivity is what we need to improve on. Intermediate proteins, like I already spoke about, proteins are important at a right level. We don't want to go very high on it, but we don't want to go low on them either. Binge on fats, and one of the biggest things to change our mind towards as we cure ourselves of lifestyle diseases is our attitude towards fat. Fat does not make us fat. What we eat as fat does not get converted into fat. It is not something which happens. Fats are good. Saturated fats are good. What is not good is our processed vegetable oil, and that is something we should stay away from. But healthy fats, which come from nuts and seeds, which comes from avocados and ghee and all, is great for your health. Your major energy for the day, if you are suffering from a lifestyle disease and want to prepare yourself for COVID, should come from fats. We have spoken about gut health, and I'm going to spend 2-3 minutes here on gut health in specific because we didn't go into detail. For fixing our gut health, we need to focus on two things. One is the prebiotics, another is the probiotics. Prebiotics are essentially foods which are high in fiber, all our vegetables, fruits to an extent. Cold potatoes, when I say cold potatoes, they are essentially potatoes which have been cooked and left to cool, which have been cooked and left to cool down for about 4 to 5 hours. They develop something called resistant starch and great amount of prebiotic. Then comes to probiotic. Probiotic is anything that has bacteria, which essentially means it's been fermented. Our curd and buttermilk is an excellent example of it. But there is also kombuchas, kimchis, pickled vegetables, which you must make a part of your regular eating life. And one of the things to note when it comes to probiotics is that a wide variety of this food helps. What really, really helps is eating a variety of fermented food. Eat a little bit of kombucha, drink a little bit of kombucha, eat a little bit of curd, eat a little bit of, drink a little bit of kefir, eat a little bit of pickled vegetables, because all of them have different strains of bacteria in them, and our gut needs all kind of bacteria to be healthy. When you eat matters, and contradictory to what we have been taught that we should eat multiple meals a day, we shouldn't. The number of times you eat food, the more number of times the insulin gets triggered in your body. So eat 2 to 3 major meals of your day. Give your stomach and digestive system about 10 to 12 hours of rest at a bare minimum every day. So when I'm saying 10 to 12 hours of rest, so if you stop eating for 10 hours is when your digestive system for rest for 12 hours. So do that at a bare minimum. That probably means you shouldn't be eating anything from 8 p.m. in the night to next morning about 7 to 8 p.m. And that's a bare minimum you should do. There are longer versions of fasting, but this is the bare minimum all of us should do. We have spoken about water already, and rethink fruits and vegetables is something I can't emphasize on. We need to eat as many varieties of fruits and vegetables, and we need to closely probably look at what kind of vegetables are we eating, how many of vegetables are we eating. I often look at the vegetarian meal that we eat in our houses on a regular basis, and I look at them and wonder where are the vegetarians in this vegetables in these vegetarian meals, because we have so much of carbs with rice and everything, and then very little of sabji in the side and very little of dal in the side. So we need to rethink the way our meal looks, the way we eat our vegetables. Okay, so this is a small example of a home quarantine meal plan, and we will send it to you as a follow-up in email if you have registered later, and you'll get the recording as well. So you don't need to scribble on it. Start your day with something which is complex carbs. And this is only for the people who don't have lifestyle diseases. I'm talking about a home quarantine meal plan if you don't have lifestyle diseases, or if you don't have diabetes or heart problems, because if you have diabetes problem, you might want to cut down the carbs slightly more than what have been mentioned here. Start your day with a complex carbs, like millets are great. Sprouted moong dal is great. Omelets is brilliant. Protein is something if you can take in the morning, it will be great. Have a mid-morning snack here. Again, this is only a home quarantine plan. Once you come out of it, you may want to limit your meals to 3 meals a day. Have a smoothie. Smoothies are great for us because the fiber does not go off from all of the vegetables and fruits. They're really filling as well, and you can pack in a whole lot of nutrition in them if they planned well. Have again, a lunch should be a combination of some carbs, a lot of protein, and a lot of vegetables. Evening snack, if you are feeling hungry, should be some form of proteins in form of sundal or chaat or cheese or something. Dinner, again, similar to lunch, but if you can, please go a little higher in protein and a little lesser in carbs. And this will come to you. Again, just giving you a few examples of immunity boosting recipes, and these will come to you again. We have celery, onion. So this is a roasted bell pepper and tomato soup. It has celery, garlic, capsicum, herbs, veg stock, which makes it a very nutritionally dense recipe. And it makes it great. Soups are something I highly recommend as a part of a healing process, because you can really pack in a whole lot of nutrition, especially if you make them with wet stock and not with water. And I highly recommend making them with wet stock. This is just the method, and it will come to you. Again, trying to give you an example on how you can make a smoothie without really, because one of the things that I talk about smoothies often to folks is that, oh, smoothie will need milk. Smoothie does not necessarily need milk. In fact, most of the smoothies that we make at Labor Life do not have milk. We don't use milk in our kitchen at all. And the smoothies that I make in home also have no milk. So one of the things that helps to put together a quick smoothie is freeze a lot of your fruits and vegetables, so that you can, when you blend them, you'll get that creaminess that you need. Use coconut milk, almond milk, curd as a substitute to milk, and throw in a few ice cubes to give that liquid texture to the smoothie. This again has great vitamin C and to a certain extent zinc in it. It has kiwi, orange juice, banana, apple, a little bit of dates if you like sweetness, and coconut milk. And you just need to kind of freeze them in the night, throw them in the smoothie maker in the morning and blend them, and your breakfast and go is absolutely ready. Okay, I think I'm running short of time, but I'll quickly try to cover it. I think this is the second last or third last slide. Before we get into the Live Out Life offerings, supplements, do we really need them? Our body has severe impact on immunity, is definitely needs some amount of supplementation. And but what that supplementation can be, that supplementation can also come from nutrition and not just by popping pills. Because one of the things with supplements is that overconsumption is possible, and overconsumption can lead to bigger problems like toxicity, causing upset stomachs. It can cause serious side effects. We are even getting reports that black fungus, one of the reasons of that could be over supplementation of zinc. So do advise caution when you take a supplement. Don't pop in without doctor's advice. Do a little tests. And if you are worried that you are lower, your in general immunity is lower, we have covered how you can pick that up with just the help of supplements, and you don't really need to pop pills unless you are deficient in some supplements, and that should come in consultation with your doctor and with a few tests. What complements nutrition? Nutrition alone, while I do agree that 60-70% of it is nutrition, but we also need to be healthy. We also need to do some physical exercise. A couple of things that can really complement our nutrition very well while trying to be healthy and trying to build our immunity and general wellness against COVID is physical activity. Please do some amount of physical activity, especially walking if you can, for about 30 to 45 minutes daily. do yoga, do meditation. It'll be a great help for mental health also. And I cannot stress importance of sleep enough, though if any of you follow me in social media, you know I'm a very bad sleeper and I've been struggling it myself. But sleep is extremely important. And if you're struggling with it, please get in touch with your doctor and try to fix it. That is what I had broadly to cover on this, but let's quickly go through what do we offer, and then I'll probably take questions. So we at LiveAlt Life work at reversing lifestyle diseases. Our main offering is a program called Health Restore Program, and we have two versions of it, a 90-day version and 30-day version. The program tackles the problem of lifestyle diseases at its core, at its bottom line, by rebalancing metabolism, improving cellular health, and strengthening our immunity. It cures insulin resistance, which is the major problem behind all types of diseases. The program contains food, therapeutic tasted food, which is delivered to you anywhere in Bangalore 3 times a day, freshly made in our kitchen, with zero preservatives. And I'm very, as I said, I head culinary, and I'm very proud to say nothing in our kitchen comes out of a bottle. We make everything that we serve for our customers. We have a community. It's extremely convenience. It's personalized. We have something called ALCs that take care of you. We have an online session of curated yoga and exercise, which is specifically designed to rebalance our metabolisms. You will not go to become Salman Khan and get six-pack by this program, but you are going to be your healthiest self. And we have something called a Smart Health Risk Assessment Diagnostic Plan, which I'll probably cover in the next slide. This is what one of the offerings is, which is the Predict Disease offering, which is our Smart Health and Risk Assessment, which is a comprehensive test which takes care of 140 parameters. We take you through a detailed lifestyle analysis that what you eat, how do you live, etc., and do a predictive analysis of your current state of mind, where we not only tell you current state of health, where we not even tell you what your state of health now is, but we also tell you what your state of health could be in the near future. And there is an annual subscription of that. We also have an Immunity Revive program and the Gut Revive program, which is 4 weeks. And we have spoken about both gut and immunity in quite a detail, and we can help you fix that if that is something you would want. We have also unbundled a lot of these offerings. And if you want to only do exercise and yoga, or you want to only subscribe to food, you do have the option. And please check out our website, livealtlife.com, for more details. These are some of the upcoming webinars we have. And please come to as many as you can. And I hope this session was helpful to you. If you would like to know more about nutrition and COVID, or lifestyle diseases and nutrition, or anything that we can help you with, please reach out to us. We are in all social media with LiveAlt Life. Our website is livealtlife.com. And thank you for joining in, guys.